Well, Diptyka Laurent has joined us now in studio. And indeed, we might touch on that Super Bowl a bit later on, Dipty, but let's for now start with these reports. A man shooting migrants in Italy, that's really become somewhat of a national issue there.
This happened on the weekend eve. 6 migrants were shot at in a weekend attack that appears that, according to police, appears to have been racially motivated. They've arrested a man called Luca Traini. He's a failed far-right electoral candidate, and they actually found a Mein Kampf in his possessions, and this has really given an additional racist element to this story. According to one source, at the moment of his arrest, Traini even draped the Italian flag around himself. For the Italian daily Il Giornale, which is actually owned by former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, this is a story of a madman provoked by hatred and violence, a story of the disfigurement of our flag, the paper says. But at the same time, it reminds us that a recent crime committed by a Nigerian immigrant who killed and mutilated a young woman has also been making headlines in Italy. Traini will deservedly spend years in prison, the paper says, but that Nigerian man should also face the same fate.
Of course, the issue of migration and nationalism in Italy is all becoming a hot topic as the country gears up for elections.
Well, it's really drawing up tensions. We're just less than 4 weeks away from the Italian elections. And for one paper, Libero, on its front page, they say the criminality of migrants is, quote, out of control, yet the left continues to bless the arrivals of the migrants. This is a right-wing paper that's certainly not mincing their words today in their front page. As a result, they say Italians are becoming terrified and their fear towards foreigners is increasing, and they're really taking to task Italian politicians who portray those who oppose immigration as evil. Now, on the other hand, you have Corriere della Sera, another newspaper that calls this attack a terrorist attack, plain and simple, one which shows how frighteningly easy it is to go from words to actions, even going as far as saying that the gunman violence that seems to plague the U.S. seems to have finally reached the doorstep of Italy.
OK, some harsh articles there in the Italian press. Well, let's move on now to a weekend report by the New York Times. It revealed the secret alliance between Israel and Egypt. Once enemies, they're now friends out of necessity.
We could even call them frenemies, maybe. I'm not sure if they're chum buddies just yet. The New York Times revealed that unmarked Israeli helicopters, drones, and jets have been carrying out covert aerial raids for the past 2 years inside Egypt in the Sinai region to root out Islamic State group terrorists. All this with the approval of Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Now, it's not really to the liking of one Arabic language paper, Al Arabi, a pan-Arab London-based paper, critiques this attempt to, quote, hide the violation of the Egyptian territory by Israel. The paper also wonders where Israel's ambitions are really going to stop. Is it really just to root out terrorism, or do they have more objectives in mind once inside Egypt?
And what does the Israeli press have to say about all that?
Well, we've got a totally different opinion from the Israeli press, as you can imagine. They hail this new Egyptian era, pumping their fists that Israel is now viewed by many Arab regimes as, quote, important and perhaps an essential ally in the fight against Islamists. The time has come, I quote, for Egypt, which benefits from Israeli support, to begin changing public opinion about Israel.
OK, let's go back now to something that I hope will be a bit lighter, Dipty, and that news of the Super Bowl. Some articles you have picked up on, notably how the US president watched the game.
I'm sure we're all dying to know how Donald Trump and Melania Trump celebrated the Super Bowl. Well, of course, Super Bowl is as famous for its celebrity parties as it is for the game itself. The Trumps held a party at Donald Trump's golf club featuring scantily clad cheerleaders, the Huffington Post says. Trump sent out an official Super Bowl statement yesterday. He also, once again, waded into the discussion of athletes taking the knee for the national anthem, once again protesting this gesture. He, of course, is a supporter of the Patriots and has been reportedly quite close to quarterback Tom Brady. Well, the Patriots did lose, and Trump reportedly left the game early just as the Patriots were down, so he might be a sore loser too. The Philadelphia Eagles, of course, went on to win the Super Bowl for the first time time in their history. Let's show you the front page of the website of the Inquirer. At long last, the paper says, the Eagles topple a dynasty to take Philly's first Super Bowl win.
Yeah, definitely a good night for the Eagles. However, there have been recent reports that correlate American football to brain damage in players. You found one particularly interesting study on that.
Well, scientists have actually made some really interesting discoveries by comparing woodpeckers, because they've actually discovered evidence of brain damage in woodpeckers. They give themselves brain damage because they slam their heads into trees at 24 kilometers an hour, about 12,000 times a day. So you can imagine what that does to their little bird brains. Well, these injuries are similar, actually, to that of American footballers. Basically, there's this protein called tau that accumulates, and as it accumulates, brain function decreases or can be disrupted, leading researchers to sort of correlate tar with brain damage. Well, now they think actually tar in woodpeckers protects them against brain damage. After all, researchers say they've been around for 25 million years, so something's still got to be working if they continue to be pecking into wood. Anyway, it's left the door open to maybe future studies on whether this element, this tar, could help footballers post-career deal with traumatic brain injuries.
Okay, an interesting one, and perhaps brain injuries in other areas. Deputy Laurent, for that international press review, thanks indeed for that. Still to